he bought it at 29, I believe, or had it put to him at 29.
I'm assuming probably had it before the horrific earnings
Says
gap, obviously.
yeah, 100 shares of Intel at 29 due to exercise from a few months ago. So had a short position, got it exercised. Can't make much after the cover calls. Yeah, the only this is where it becomes tough to own stock, right? The only real thing you can
Either
do
you get
there,
out or you accept you're an investor.
yes, it either
You got
turns
to make that choice.
a swing trade turns into an investment, and you have to kind of deal with the downs. Now, the other part is, and again, I will caution this on a big time. If you have not reached a max position that you're happy with, you could dollar cost average, but you have to make sure that you're happy to be in the stock for an extended period of time. That would be the
Selling an
only other
at the
way to do
money
it.
straddle. I wouldn't sell an at the money straddle with like 4 weeks to go into earnings with the volatility build expected, Hedda. I think you're compounding your problem there.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
I think you just have a choice, Hedda. You either got to say, I'm done with Intel, take the loss and go find a better position that you can cash flow on. Or two, say, you know what, Intel's going to be one of my cash flow stocks in 25, and I'm going to do everything I can to race to zero.
Yeah.
It's a choice. We've all been faced with that choice, by the way. We've all been stuck. I'll just
Yep.
tell you what one of my mentors, Michael Brooks, told me many years ago when I was stuck in a trade that started off as a trade, but I was staring at it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And he's like, do you want to stare at that chart for the next 6 months? Get out, go find a better position. There is no rule in the world that you have to make up the same amount of money you lost on the same stock.
Yeah, and you have to get used to taking losses,
Yeah.
whether they be big or small, and ideally you want them to be very small. But taking a loss on a position and reevaluating and replanning, is a
I,
very good exercise for your mental
I
capital.
I would argue with you on the ability for bringing cash flow in to offset though. You're
What do you
you're only
mean?
talking about a $20 stock at this point, and you can still sell a 26 delta contract 30 days out and get 53 cents, right north of 2% on a 26 delta. That's pretty decent cash flow, quite frankly, for a $20. Now, is it enough cash flow to make up off your 29? No, it isn't. But is it $53 you would bring in? And if you sold it 22 and a half, obviously that would be a $23 max gain. That offsets your $9 loss to $6, and you can stomach that a little bit more. I wouldn't discount the cover call. I'd keep selling cover calls here till it got taken from me, and then I wouldn't look at it for 6 months.
Yeah, and so just to reiterate what I had said earlier, because I kind of like Matt's take on it, you know, I would look at this and say, okay, I've got 100 shares, but if this were a core position for me, what would be my max number of shares? If it were 200, well, I could sell a put spread here, okay, get put the shares again if it starts to go down, or just collect some more capital, right? You could sell the 18 and 18 and go 16, $2 wide, okay, collect that in, and then you're reducing your cost
So
basis.
so instead of the straddle, a strangle head in makes a little more sense because the strangle would basically be the combination of the naked put and a covered call,
And
right?
you could do that, yeah,
And
with your
and so the straddle, the at the money straddle, I wouldn't be comfortable with there. I think that's a little too aggressive on the naked put side. But an out of the money strangle with owning the shares would create basically a naked put covered call environment. And but that's only if you're willing to add more shares because you're not maxed out there, Hedda. Does that make
correct.
sense? I know we're having like a prolonged conversation here, but I personally like these types of conversations.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I want to sleep on the cash flow you can get from Intel. Like you can still get significant cash flow for a $20 stock. It's pretty decent, honestly.